We'll get things started then. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending this afternoon on this beautiful day. I have regrets from Councillor Guy Surette, but other than that, I think everybody else is here. Ella will join us shortly. Number 2 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. So I assume you've all had a chance to look at the agenda. Mayor Mood?
Yeah, I can move the approval of the agenda. I'm just going to move my item update to in camera.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Is there a seconder on that? Daniel, Councillor Allen, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Contrary minded, motion carried. Good. Next, we have number 3. Item number 3 is approval of the minutes of May 25th, 2021. Is there somebody willing to move those minutes? Thank you, Trevor. Seconded by John. Any questions on that? All those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye. Contrary? Good. Motion carried. Next we have in business, number 4, we have an update from Mark Brophy. So I'm going to turn this over to Mark.
Okay, thanks a lot. A good report to start. With the 3 council approval last week, we got right to work. Monday, I had a kickoff meeting with the project team from EXP. Their project team is their project manager, the same Stacy from last time, but there's 2 architects and the other guy I call the CAD and rendering guy, who's going to make pretty pictures. So the 2 architects have split the functions. One is going to be the new concept and costing, and the other architect's working on the text for the formal application, and they're both off to a great start. So we'll start with the concept guy. He's working right away with Hanscom, starting with our 30 million target budget, eliminating all the soft costs like design, project management, FF&E, a lot of those kind of costs, contingencies, construction changes, and working back to what really is the number we're building to, which is the construction budget. That's going to be probably, they're reviewing with Hanscom, $22–23 million construction project. And then with that, then they work backwards till they find out, we know what our basic concept is, and they'll revise that. They're going to have to scale back some of those pretty renderings we had last time. It's going to look a little bit simpler because that's how you bring costs down. But you know, for a funding document, you need a floor plan showing lanes of a pool, some windows and doors, and a pretty picture. So with the new concept, that'll feed into the revised estimate and check to make sure where we need to be, which then feeds back into the text. So the text guy, he's really onto it. He's well into the energy because the energy part. Climate resistance is a huge part of this application. A lot of boxes to check there, and he's already into asking questions on, even with the existing facility, fuel costs, light costs, and they're going to do an energy model and things like that. It's really only 11 pages of text, but we've added some sections to a revised table of contents, which will again increase the targeted. You can tell how the spreadsheet will be done for the evaluation. There's certain items and elements that have to be captured, and we're going to have bullets for every single one of them to nail everyone. So it's tick, got it. And this architect is all over that. One of the things that he suggested to us, and I'm going to be asking for some help on this, is letters of support from the community. The big focus of this grant application is accessibility. It's a community center, it's a cultural center, and it's for underserviced parts of the population that need this facility. They're suggesting that we talk about how important it is to the community, and then as an appendix, every letter of support we can possibly get to say how important it is to the community, whether it's seniors, whether it's swimming lessons, whether it's fitness, of course, the swim team. Let's put our heads together. Every letter of support that we can possibly put there that demonstrates the community needs and wants this. So that was a good point for the architect. So I'm hoping to be a little bit ahead of schedule. In the, I believe what was sent out was the update on the flow chart on our status to date. And so this was a startup week. Next week was a work week. And the week after was our preliminary bring back some concepts to a steering committee. We're hoping to beat that. We're hoping to have some preliminary thoughts to this group. If we schedule a meeting for next week, we're going to have something to present. So we're not waiting to the end to push this. We're starting from the first week. So I hope to bring something back to the table next week. So all good starting out. Any questions? I
That's
see
what
one
I was
hand.
gonna ask. Anybody have any questions for Mark? Yes, Frank, go ahead.
I can offer my assistance in finding some of those groups that we can rally to lend some letters of support towards the application. So
Much appreciated. More better.
and I'm sure Scott can help me.
Is there anybody else who has any questions for Mark? Okay.
It'll
Seeing
get
none?
interesting when I have that first concept, and then I know we'll request the project manager to be on the call and start and help with the presentation and look for some input. But I will, as Alan said to us on one of the earlier calls, we don't have to have the perfect layout. We have to have a layout that makes sense to work, to make a budget, to make the text work and tick the box for the application. Design development, when you go from concept to 33, 66, 99, it changes. So make it make sense, make it look good, that we can all say, yeah, that's what we want. Then we'll finish the document.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Mark. Next on the agenda is we're going to move to 4.3, terms of reference. So our CAOs have worked together on the terms of reference. Jeff, you're going to talk on that?
Yeah, I'll take the lead on that. So we had a terms of reference for the committee that was incorporated within a request for decision that all of our councils had previously approved. And obviously with the work that has been done and the no longer the need for the subcommittees that we had established, there was, I guess, felt that it was time to update the terms of reference. And as we got into it, realized there was a lot that we could add to the terms of reference that wasn't in the original draft. So this was only circulated yesterday to the committee here, and if you've read it, you'll notice that we had in here an undertaking that we would try to have documents to the committee 3 days in advance of the meetings to have informed decisions. And so right away, we've got to call ourselves out and say, we didn't meet that standard with this document. And so in some ways, it's unfair to ask you to consider and recommend this on such short notice. But if you would like, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to sort of hit the highlights, walk through the document.
Sure.
Okay. So the background is just essentially says that we're moving ahead with the project. We've got some work done, and we no longer need the subcommittees. Then there's a project description, and it's very brief, but it essentially says that there's consensus among the municipalities that we want to expand Mariner Center and create a community hub for events, sports, and recreation. And it goes on to talk about some of the specific elements that we've talked about at this committee and are still the focus of our work. So the aquatic center, fitness center, other multi-purpose sport and recreation opportunities, including a walking track, and utilizing the entire property to create a campus-style community hub for broad-based use of community events, sport, recreation opportunities. Then goes on, and I think this, I want you to pay attention to this paragraph because I think it's new and it's important. The committee will follow a defined project plan with clear milestones and timing. Activities and decisions undertaken by the committee will include, but not be limited to, stakeholder identification, fundraising, RFP processes, communications, confirming design, reviewing design changes, making recommendations to the three councils where required and appropriate. And success will be defined on the committee's ability to navigate the trade-offs between meeting the current and future needs of the community, fundraising and budgetary requirements, and ensuring a functional space that supports sustainable operations over time. There's a lot in that. And Durham's laughing because he knows how much is in that. So I just wanted to call that out. That's an important paragraph. So status, the committee will serve as steering committee for the 3 municipal partners to oversee and carry out the development of the expansion, Mariner Center expansion. And then we talk about composition, and this was essentially taken directly from, I think directly from the previous iteration. And so we've got the warden or deputy warden, and 1 councillor from the districts of Yarmouth, Argyle, and the mayor, deputy mayor, and a councillor from the town of Yarmouth. We have as ex officio, the chairman of Mariner Center Management Board, non-voting CAOs, and the CEO of Mariner Center. And we've also made the note in there that we'll bring, the CAOs may bring additional staff to meetings as a resource. That's what we had in the past. And there's obvious omission here, and that is around the Acadia First Nation. We have engaged with them to some degree, and we just aren't certain exactly, and maybe they're not certain yet exactly how they'll be engaged in this process and with this committee. And I think Steve was going to undertake some work there, or at least some conversations. So I see him waving his hand.
Yeah, I have a great relationship through Jay Strong, obviously, and I actually see hopefully maybe Jay Strong and bringing AFN in. I'd be happy to kind of reach out and, to make sure they're included. And I think the big thing is the more partnerships obviously we can have, the stronger we are. But to take a community that was marginalized in the past and show them the importance of the partnership moving forward in everything we do. I just think, where we are today, wearing orange and doing all these things, it's even more at the forefront. So if this is built right in our plan, I think that's a great way to go. And it's not an afterthought, we just want you along for some money. No, I think some important, opinions are there, and to make sure that everyone's all inclusive. So I'd be more than happy to reach out and hopefully make a great connection and a partnership moving forward. So.
Yeah, and so I just flagged that. Thank you, Steve. I flagged that as something that we need to incorporate within the terms of reference, but do so appropriately, not to make assumptions about what their role will or will not be. So, Madam Chair, I think I saw Councillor Dares raise his hand.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Dares, go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly, I'm really pleased that you brought that up, Jeff, because I did notice that. I saw it as an omission, but I'm glad you brought it up. And I think that when it comes to letters of support, that would be an important resource. So yeah, I encourage any contact we can make. I'm really pleased to see that happen. Thank you.
Yeah. And again, it's I think that's an important bit of work that we need to make sure it gets incorporated the way that they see themselves being incorporated, not just the way we might see it, obviously, right? So thank you, and so I'll just move on and go on through. So under financial, so the committee will have the authority to manage budgets as approved by the partners, and to execute the work incidental to gain the project done. And just flagged here that over time, the size of the contracts that the committee will have the authority to approve will increase, and will include the actual contracts to build the center itself. So we can't, what's envisioned here is much like what happened when Mariner Center itself was originally built, is you can't have tenders and procurement processes requiring 3 separate approvals at council level. And so you're asking the councils to vest that authority with their appointees that they've put on this committee to move the project forward. All of that, of course, has to be within approved budgets. So that is ultimately where the councils have their authority, their overall authority here is approving the budget. And then it's this committee's job to, as trustees, to take that and execute the project on their behalf, on all our collective behalf. So it goes on to say that the project the financial management will happen through the existing financial structure for Mariner Center. There are HST advantages to that, and so that's handled through the town of Yarmouth, and that's just written in here. Meetings. So we've said here that the committee will meet not less than once per month or calendar month, but as often as necessary in order to carry out the work. And meeting coordination will be led by the municipality from which the chairperson is appointed. And so for now, that would be the District of Argyle. And it goes on to say that the admin support for keeping minutes and so on would also come from the chairperson's municipality. That's intended to make that process of connecting the chair and the desire to have meetings and coordinate agendas as easy as possible. And as the chairperson may change over time, so too will that responsibility for the administrative support. It says in here that the meetings will be held virtually, in person if possible, and maybe a combination thereof or a hybrid if technology is available. So it then says every effort will be made to provide the documents 3 days ahead so you can make informed decisions. And that's a standard that I think we should always try to meet, though admittedly with this document we did not. Then it just goes on to say that the singular focus of this committee is the Mariner Center expansion. And the deliverables required to achieve the project's milestones bound by time-bound tasks, and ownership will be assigned with each meeting. So again, here we're flagging that this has to be intentional, that we set goals, milestones, assign tasks and timelines in order to achieve any kind of success with the project. It goes on to say that education is a part of what this committee is committing to. So there's a lot that we don't know, a lot that we've learned perhaps in the last few years, and still more that we're going to learn as we move forward through this process. And DRAM has taken it's been I guess the champion of making sure that you are in the best position to make the most informed decisions, and part of that is just education. So asking everyone on the committee to commit to that. Then it goes on to talk about meetings being open to the public and some of the transparency efforts that we have been and will continue to undertake as a committee, including posting videos and minutes and documents and so on the Mariner Center website. So the work of the expansion committee involves recommending things to 3 councils. The first one is the funding formula. And so we can always check the box on that one. Gave ourselves an opportunity for success right out of the gate. So there's that. There's an intermunicipal agreement that needs to be written, and see it being recommended through this committee to the 3 funders and owners. A budget requirement for the capital project, and we've talked about that recently in a workshop, and there will be budgets required to do different procurement through along the way. And a fundraising plan. So there will be, we've all talked about there being a fundraising element to this. It's this committee's responsibility to develop the fundraising plan, not necessarily to execute it. Let's be guided by the plan and the experts that we have developed that plan, but just flagging it that the fundraising plan will be developed through this committee's work. And when it comes to executing, the work involves completing applications. Right now, Mark is leading us through one, but there may be others as we navigate the provincial and federal funding opportunities, and perhaps even other non-government funding opportunities. We'll oversee the procurement processes of goods and services necessary. We'll communicate with elected and non-elected officials, and some of that will be in support of the applications, and some of it will be in the form of updates. We'll confirm the facility's initial program or design. We'll clearly define project milestones to direct the steering committee. We're committed to, and again, this is about process. We're committed to focused agendas that we're going to lay out a plan and execute that plan and celebrate when we meet our milestones and correct course when we don't. we need to be committed, or we're saying here, we'll be committed to stakeholder identification and engagement across the entire project. Be committed to seek out education. And again, we've talked about that a little bit on key topics. Commitment to balance the needs of the community with priority of designing and building functional spaces that ensure sustainability and efficient operations over time. So some key concepts in there is a functional building and that is sustainable. And we've talked many times at this committee about, building it right and needing to respect the fact that we have to generate a membership model that it will be sustainable. So that's just called out in that point. And then a catch-all, implementing all the work necessary to complete the expansion, in case we forgot anything. So the authority, and this is again within approved budgets, the committee has the authority to approve and release procurement documents, to award procurement contracts, and I've spoken to that a few points ago, and approve and release public statements. As far as the reporting goes, the members, you the members of the committee will be responsible for updating your councils on a regular basis on the activities of the steering committee, and the municipal clerks will have copies of the approved minutes to circulate. We have a section on communications where press releases and other formal communication shall be approved by the wardens, mayor, and the chairperson, and all shall be media contacts. So communications will be issued under the name of this committee, and whenever it's possible to do so, communications will be sent to all members of councils, the 3 councils, 1 hour before they're sent to the media as an opportunity for a heads up, whenever possible. The Town of Yarmouth's communications manager will be the lead, but we'll work in collaboration, of course, with the communication counterparts from Argyle and the District of Yarmouth. So in other words, we're going to use our existing resources to support the work of the committee, which only makes sense. So what are the covenants we're asking of the municipal councils? And this is speaking of our councils as a whole. So first of all, to publicly support the work and decisions of the steering committee, to consent to the authority granted in this terms of reference, to ensure staff and councillor time available to do the work that's laid out, to look to the respective representatives and staff for updates and details on the committee work, so keep themselves informed, provide the political support to advocacy efforts. So whether we're talking about, probably we are talking about support for applications and political support, that we're asking all of council to do what it is they can to support those efforts, to be responsive in a timely manner to requests for decision from the steering committee. And our councils have done a great job of that to date, and provide a budget to the committee to do the work that's assigned. Finally, the last statement is that these terms of reference may be, with council's approval, amended from time to time in response to project needs. So that we're, as much as some of this work, we've done things like this before. One thing we know is we don't know it all, and there will be things that arise that may give rise to need to change the terms of reference. And we've already flagged one partnership, but there may be other things. So that statement is just to flag that. So, Madam Chair, that's, I guess, a maybe not so quick
No, that's good.
summary of the terms of reference.
It was good. Is there somebody that has a question, something you want to ask CAO Gushue? Trevor, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, to CAO Gushue. Was there some thought given to a period of time which this document would be in force?
So there was a reference within the document of executing the project within 5 years. Obviously, we all want it to be executed and the doors open, ribbons cut as quickly as possible. I do recall a 5-year reference in here somewhere, but I would say I guess the simplest way to say it is that the document would be the terms of reference for this committee until the committee's work is either complete or the document is updated and replaced.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to ask a question or speak on that? Mayor Mood.
Jeff, number 9, I don't have it in front of me. Wait a second. It's under, first of all, the paragraph that you said, pay attention to this one.
Yep.
And then number 9, under the work of the Mariner Center. It's because I'm reading 2 sentences that sound different to me. So are we talking about budget, balancing the needs of the community with the priority of designing and building functional spaces that ensures is sustainable equal to finances? As we're
So
saying, yeah, if the
I
budget
think what
doesn't
we're-
allow.
I think what we were getting at there, and please, I didn't do this alone. Duram and the other CAOs contributed greatly to this, but my read of that one, and please others chime in if you read it differently, is that ultimately there are a lot of things the community wants and needs, but we have some fiscal realities that we need to deal with. And I think what this is trying to say is, as we deal with those fiscal realities, we don't try to do an economy version of 16 things if what we really could do is maybe 3 things really well.
Right on.
That makes sense for the functional use of the spaces and ultimately the operational sustainability later. We're not trying to cram everything into the envelope if it's not going to fit and be done well. We don't want to wear the legacy of building a lot of things not particularly well.
Right on. Thank you. That's really important because we've been saying that. Let's do it right.
And
Go
Jeff,
ahead, Durham.
sorry, yeah, Nicole,
Okay.
Madam Chair. So that section was particularly important to me, and that's why it's repeated. And if it needs to be worded differently for clarity, let's do so. But it is exactly what Jeff said, and it didn't take long for me to learn that very quickly from touring other facilities in the province, that there is a outcome here we need to do everything as a committee to avoid. And because you'll be left disappointed, and you'll be able to check the box. Yeah, we built that, but will the utility that you intended be there at the end? No, and you'll be left with a more costly outcome over time.
Sounds good. Is there anybody else that has a question on terms of reference? Okay, seeing none. So I'm assuming, Jeff, that we're not going to pass this yet because there's still especially some question around the AFN involvement that we're going to get some clarity on.
So maybe for a couple of reasons, I would suggest, depending on when your next meeting is, but it's going to be, not too far down the road.
Yeah.
That you may want to just table this for now and let Councillor Barry do a little bit of outreach that may inform the document. But there's also let's be respectful of everybody's right to make informed decisions, and where this was only circulated yesterday, let's not force a decision on folks right now. You may take this and spend the next couple of days with it, and other questions arise. So let's not force a decision, and let's give Councillor Barry an opportunity to do a little outreach.
That sounds good. Is that okay with everybody? We're going to table that. Do we need a motion to table that, Jeff, or do we just motion? We do. Can I have somebody move to table this, terms of reference? Thank you, Daniel. Do I have a seconder? Gil, second that? And anybody want to speak on that? Any questions on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you for that, Jeff.
Thank you to the other 2 CAOs and Duram, because they contributed greatly. I just spoke today, that's all.
Yes, that's what I meant. Thank you for speaking on that, I guess is
Okay.
what I should have said. Thank you. Okay, I just lost my agenda. Let me find it here. Next was, sorry. Mm. Okay, next, let me see what I have. Results of negotiations. I have it in my notes. I don't even see the agenda in front of me right now, but that's what I had in my notes. So is there anybody in particular who wants to speak on this, or do you just want me to do a summary of kind of what we went through? I can summarize from our workshop with Max. There's a few, I mean, we actually accomplished quite a bit, and we got some big things nailed down. So we nailed down a number. We had already nailed down a number for Mark. We had our $30 million target. But what was difficult, I think, a little bit for councils when we got together was coming up with that percentage number. So those who were in that workshop, we know we took a couple of tries at it, but in the end, we settled in on municipality of the District of Argyle with 30.67%, Town of Yarmouth 30.67%, and the municipality of Yarmouth 38.67%. So that's where we landed on to get our 100%. And we also approved in between somewhere there our funding for Mark to get started on the work. So our percentages of the 32,500 for EXP to get the ball rolling, that was approved as well. A lot has been accomplished in just the last couple of weeks. So we should really pat ourselves on the shoulders because we got a lot done. Is there anybody who wants to add? Duran is pretty happy about that. That's the CEOs as well. Anybody want to add anything to that? Am I missing anything? Okay, we just, I think, kind of wanted to provide an update for today. All right, sounds good. So we are going to go. Was there anything else? Am I missing anything before we go in camera? Okay, seeing nothing. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Alain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on the application itself, and I may have missed this because I was a little late coming in. So on the application itself, does the application require resolutions that confirm percentages, et cetera? I guess this is a question for Brophy.
You're muted, buddy.
This video, okay. The last one had it, so yes, I do believe we should update them. That's an appendix, and yes, that should be. It's also in the confidence of delivery that you're demonstrating that. So yes, I do believe it should be.
Okay, so we'll need to have our resolutions because we had looked at a resolution at one of our council meetings, but we weren't quite ready to pass it because we didn't have all of the information yet. So that's something that we'll need to do.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that this is a federal application, which hopefully is successful. But back in February, we were asked for the same application by the province. It's going to go that way too. So they're expecting it back, should be revised as per their suggestion, and it's going back to them as well. So we're really going to accomplish two goals by this process of EXP.
Good. I'm still trying to find this agenda. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak on that? There it is. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Pam. Yep.
Yeah, have we done communications on how far we've come?
We had talked about that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, we did talk about it. I think we talked about it because it's should come from the committee, not, I think every council was excited about, how much was done, but that communication should come from, I don't know, maybe the three councils or the committee or whatever. Just wanted to flag it.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I think the item we're going to discuss in camera is relevant to that in terms of consistency of messaging and so on. So I think that's where we landed on that.
I'll save my comments then. Yep.
Okay. Alain, did you have something to say, or is your hand just still up?
Yeah, I just like my hand up. Apparently.
Okay, just checking, just making sure. Okay, so are we good to go into camera then? Consensus to go? Okay. Do we make a motion to go into camera? No, we just consensus, right?
No, I think we make a
Make a motion. Okay,
So
sorry.
I'll make the motion to go into camera, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'll
Do we
second
have a
it.
seconder? Danny, Warden Muse. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Contrary? Good, motion carried. Okay, so the recording will stop, right? So that we go on camera?
Mhm.
I think we are. Okay. So is somebody willing to make the motion to return to our councils and set some funding for discretionary funds? All right, Daniel, thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Danny. Any questions on that? Okay, all those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay. So I think that's everything. My agenda went to sleep. So the next meeting, we're looking a week's time from now. Is Wednesday a good day? 4 o'clock a good time? Okay, so I think it's the 9th, I believe. Some of the topics that I wrote down. So Mark, of course, will give us an update. He always gives us kind of the next where he's at. Frank, are you still there? Yep, Frank is still there. Frank, will you be able to give us some names of community groups for letters of support? Will you be able to have anything to update for that? Okay, I'm going to put that on the agenda if that's okay. What about Steve? Will that give you enough time to give us an update for AFN?
I'll reach out as soon as we're done and hopefully get some progress. So.
Okay, perfect. Should we have on there, I'm questioning, could we have on there our resolutions for the application? So our councils will have to go back and make those resolutions for the application. We'll both have meetings. What about you guys, Pam? Will the town have a meeting before the next meeting? No?
We can have a, what's that, Jeff?
Sorry, I was just saying we meet on Thursday, but you can
Yeah,
call a
we
special
meet
meeting.
Thursday, but we can have a meeting anytime.
Okay, so we'll just have an update on that we have once our resolutions are passed. I also have the motion we just made about the budget. I think that's everything. I think that's everything I have. Is there anything else anybody can think of? It's quite a bit. Go ahead, Daniel.
So I might have just misunderstood or anything, but are we going to be doing any type of press release soon? Do we have anything? Like, can we get a good feeling story started? Can we start the snowball rolling is what I'm wondering.
Mm-hmm. So who would be tasked to do that, I guess is my question. Who would be the person or people to work on that? Go ahead, Jeff.
Madam Chair, in terms of reference, it was proposed that Mike would lead that work in conjunction with the other municipal resources. So if you want, I can ask Mike to, we can update Mike in terms of some of the good work the committee has done and see if he can work something up as far as an information release. The one thing that I shared the last meeting is that we don't have a call to action for the community, and I'm a little concerned that we don't sound, as much as we've achieved good work, that there's still a lot of work to be done. I think is part of what the message has to be. We don't want people to go to sleep just waiting to wake up and see the thing built, right?
Right. Exactly.
I guess that's what I was getting at, Jeff. I'd like to get the snowball going and start creating some excitement around the project. Even if at some point we reach out to Zach and see if maybe we can get a statement from him involved in it as well, right? Because it's time we start hearing from our MLA and
I think that's part of the scope of the work that this team would be doing, to figure out who do we need to have in those press releases. You know what I mean? What do they need to say? How do we pull that together?
Message,
yeah. Well, I just think that as part of that, we definitely, I guess they're a professional, they would decide, but I think as MLA for Yarmouth, I think Zach's should have a couple words in there, whether it just be that he's on our side kind of thing. There's no commitment. I'm not looking for commitments from him or anything, just some positive. I just like to see something positive so that it can get people kind of excited and talking about it. Because if they don't start talking about it soon, it's like Jeff said, they're going to go to sleep. We want this talked about. We need it talked about.
So I think from this committee, a release that we would do would be about us and from us, and about the good work that you've done over the last month or two, since the last update. And what I would hope is that our local media and even the provincial media might say, gee, let me write my own story based on the fact that they've issued this release, which is often happens, right, with Saltwire or whomever. They'll try to make it their own and add some context. So they might reach out to Zach or to Chris or Colton or whomever else to get additional quotes.
So Jeff, do you think that that's something that could happen sooner rather than later? Like, is that something
Sure.
that could we have a copy of that even just added to our agenda for next week? Would that be possible?
Add it to the agenda. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, all right, we'll add that to the agenda. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, I don't see any hands. Sounds good. So can I have somebody move to adjourn? Thank you, Daniel, and seconded by Steve. All those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Motion carried. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Great
Thank
meeting.
you.
Great work, everyone.
Good stuff.
Take care.
Bit longer than usual, but there was a lot.